Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Nobel laureates. My name is Daniel Holtz. I'm a professor at the University of Chicago. I'm chair of the Science and Security Board of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, and in this role, I help set the doomsday clock. I'm also founding director of the University of Chicago Existential Risk Laboratory, and I am a co-organizer of the Nobel Laureate Assembly on the prevention of nuclear war. What you've been listening to, as you've been finding your seats, is a spoken version of A Hard Rain. This is part of today's release of the Hard Rain Collective album, which also includes a rendition of Bob Dylan's A Hard Rain's a Gonna Fall, including contributions from Allison Russell, whom we'll hear from later tonight, Willie Nelson, Ringo Starr, Iggy Pop, Laurie Anderson, Asha Bosley, and many, many other artists. And I'll also point out, Bob Dylan is also a Nobel laureate. Today is the 80th anniversary of the first nuclear detonation, the Trinity test. We have organized this Nobel Laureate Assembly for the prevention of nuclear war because we are deeply concerned about the escalating risk. The doomsday clock is the closest it has ever been to midnight. It is now 89 seconds to midnight. Last year, Nihon Hindankyo, the group of survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. We have convened Nobel laureates and experts in nuclear risk, and we have spent 3 days discussing the risks and solutions, and we've just come from a press conference where we've announced our declaration. This has been very intense work of many experts and laureates who are sitting here in the audience with you. I just want to point out that it's incredibly fitting that we are having this conference at Chicago, where the nuclear age effectively began. Just a short walk from here, just a couple blocks, Chicago scientists created the first self-sustaining chain reaction, CP1, right in the middle of campus. Just as the atomic bomb had its origins here, the movement against nuclear war, the kind of scientists first being engaged on this topic, also began here at the university. So we're going to start with a short, not a physics lesson, I know you're all here for music, a short conversation about the assembly to give you a sense of what we've been up to, and then we're going to go to the performance. So what I'm going to do is invite some of my colleagues to come up to join us now. So I'm going to start. I'm going to just introduce all of you, and you should all just come up. So David Gross. David Gross was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2004 for the discovery which led to the theory of the strong nuclear force, quantum chromodynamics, enabling the completion of the standard model of elementary physics, which shows how the three basic forces of nature are connected, one of the greatest breakthroughs in physics. Brian Schmidt is an astrophysicist at the Australian National University. Along with Saul Perlmutter and Adam Rees, Brian was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2011 for the discovery that the expansion of the universe is accelerating. This remains one of the most shocking discoveries of modern physics, and we are still desperately searching for a deeper understanding of this mysterious dark energy. Alexandra Bell is president and CEO of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. She previously served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Affairs in the Bureau of Arms Control, Deterrence, and Stability in the U.S. Department of State from 2021 to 2025. And Karen Hallberg is an Argentine physicist and Secretary General of the Pugwash Conference for Science and World Affairs, which won the 1995 Nobel Peace Prize for its mission to eliminate nuclear arms. So I'm just going to ask a few questions, and then we'll go from there. So let me start with David. David, why don't you explain the origins of this assembly?
So last year, 2024, I was with Brian at the annual or triannual meeting of physics Nobel laureates on the island of Mainau outside of Lindau in Germany. That's where Nobel laureates come together and meet with hundreds of young scientists to talk about physics. We were reminded at the beginning of that meeting of the Mainau Declaration of 1955, almost 70 years before. At that meeting, Otto Frisch, who discovered nuclear fission, Werner Heisenberg, creator of quantum mechanics, who led the German atomic bomb effort, and Max Born, a pioneer in quantum mechanics, with their fellow laureates, wrote a document called the Mainau Declaration, which pointed out the dangers of the weapons that their science had made possible. And they were shocked by the fact that they realized that these weapons could lead to the destruction of mankind, and issued a very strong declaration calling on the world to renounce and abolish nuclear weapons. 70 years later, 69 years later, I felt, and with the help of Brian, convinced all the Nobel laureates there to sign a similar declaration, pointing out that today the danger appears to us to be even greater, with a multipolar, disorganized and world we all live in, with the beginning of an intense arms race once again, with the collapse of almost all treaties that limit nuclear testing or arms proliferation, with the threats of many new countries becoming nuclear, and with a lack of strong public pressure to reverse these trends. Something needed to be done. So we signed, all of us, the second Mainau Declaration on the Prevention of Nuclear War, where we similarly outlined the threats and called on the nations of the world to never use nuclear weapons in war, to make the possibility of nuclear war impossible. But we understood that such a declaration would have little impact. I doubt that only a handful of you have heard of that. So we felt that it was necessary to continue the effort in new and different ways. And with the great help of Daniel, who runs this incredible institute here at the University of Chicago and is heavily involved in the efforts to limit nuclear arms, and with a whole bunch of incredible nuclear experts like Alex and Karen, who I knew as a physicist years ago, and many other nuclear experts who assembled with us here, we very carefully over 2.5 weeks thought about what recommendations could we make, practical, timely recommendations that might have an effect if adopted by our leaders, the leaders of the world. And those constitute the declaration, which we signed a few hours ago, and which will be available to the press and on our website. And I believe that is just the beginning.
Thanks, David. Brian, I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about why now and why you're involved in this.
So, despite living in Australia today, I was born in Montana, and I grew up with a Minutemen installation in my backyard. I saw it a couple times a week, probably, as a kid. I, in second grade, had my one and only duck and cover video. They were fortunately discontinued in 1975. But I did see it once, and I was petrified of nuclear war in my childhood. And rightly so. It was a real present danger. And when David talked last year to many of the physicists at Lindau Meinau, 700 of the smartest kids around the world, there was literally a complete lack of understanding of what the risk was. And the failure to understand that things like climate change will probably precipitate nuclear war well before the finality of climate change were to take place. And at the same time, we were looking at how efforts to de-escalate and to deproliferate were going. And after a huge amount of progress, where by a factor of 10, the number of nuclear weapons dropped into about 2010, since that time, we have started sliding backwards, and we've been accumulating risks, such to the point now, in 2025, we clearly had a very near call of use of a nuclear bomb in 2022, and the risk now is substantially higher than when I was a 7-year-old sitting on that Minuteman missile site. So, as a physicist whose academic grandparents studied the same thing I did, the people like Bethe and Oppenheimer studied the same things I do, supernovae, I have been, I feel as though my discipline has a responsibility to remind people what those people knew. This is a real present danger that needs their attention, and we need not to slide back into a new arms race, which is brewing today. And so that is why now, because now is already too late, but it's better than tomorrow.
Thanks, Brian. So I'm actually going to go to Karen next. And I was wondering if you could maybe summarize for the audience some of the key themes that came up over the last days of discussion.
Well, hello everyone, good evening. It's really a pleasure being here. Thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to the concert, but it's interesting that we can at least let you know what we've been doing during these 2.5 days. They were very intense intellectually. Imagine all these Nobel Laureates discussions. We were really trying to see how what urgent actions to propose to leaders mainly to try to avoid nuclear war, because we do think that the situation, as they said, very well said, the situation is very risky. So we touched on several topics that have to do with the consequences of nuclear war, of emerging technologies like AI, for example, and nuclear weapons, on non-proliferation and disarmament, on strategic stability. That means countries have nuclear weapons. We have 9 countries that have nuclear weapons, 5 members, permanent members of the UN, of the Security Council. And what can they do? Because we won't see a prompt elimination of nuclear weapons. We have to aim at that in the long run. In the long run, we hope that's going to happen. But now, what can they do? So they really have to reach a stability. They have to reduce gradually the amount of nuclear weapons, they don't have to resume testing, because that would mean that proliferation will start again. We don't want to see new nuclear weapon states. We want to see a reduction of nuclear weapon states and a reduction of the risk we're all here facing. So this is, I think, part of our responsibility as scientists. When I was a student in the south of Argentina, a physics student, my professor, he had very interesting discussions on the social responsibility of scientists and what scientists all over the world can do to help raise awareness on this problem. So this is how I joined the Pugwash Conferences on Science and World Affairs. Let's go back to 1955, just a little bit of history. In 1955, so 10 years after the bombings on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, a group of eminent scientists got together. Among them, there were Albert Einstein, Bertrand Russell, Joe Rotblat, and other eminent scientists, and they signed a very important document called the Russell-Einstein Manifesto, which I recommend you to read, because it's beautifully written by Bertrand Russell, who got the Nobel Prize in Literature. This manifesto called for a meeting of scientists to discuss their responsibility and what they can do to stop an arms race. In that time, 1955, we already had the development of H thermonuclear bombs, so that there were 1,000 times more destructive than the bombs launched over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So after that, they created the Pugwash movement. The Pugwash conferences got the Peace Nobel Prize in 1995. But the Russell-Einstein Manifesto was signed in so we're also celebrating not only the 80 years of the Trinity test, but we're commemorating the 80 years of the Trinity, and we're celebrating the 70 years of the Russell-Einstein Manifesto. So this is what we're doing today. We're standing up to our responsibility. I also think the situation now is much worse and much riskier than it was when they signed that important manifesto. Now we have many more nuclear weapon states. We have 9. We have many more nuclear weapons. The international agreements are at risk because some countries are not abiding by their responsibilities, and this is what we're also calling upon in our document. And one of the things that worries us most, and this is why we're here, there is very little social awareness on the problem. And the leaders are not taking that problem seriously because there's no demand from society. So thank you very much for being here. You're an important part of this struggle to rid the world of nuclear weapons. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. And now, Alex, I was wondering if you could sort of summarize some of the main points of the declaration for the audience.
Sure, I will. I'll pre-warn you. This is at times a pretty technical declaration, and I think that was on purpose because what we wanted to do was present actionable, practical steps that world leaders around the world can enact today. There are no impediments to moving forward on these concepts, and so whether it was reductions in nuclear forces through bilateral or multilateral negotiations, an acceptance of the dangers of the placement of nuclear weapons in space, or the new risks posed by emerging and disruptive technologies, including AI, and how those technologies can disrupt nuclear stability as we know it. We wanted to put it into this document. It's only 2 pages, so I promise you it's not that bad. But understanding you want to hear music, I won't go into the whole thing. But it was really the purpose behind this statement is there's so many challenges in the world. All of you experience them every day in your personal lives. But there's only one challenge that can end human civilization in an afternoon, and that's nuclear war. If we don't figure out how to work this problem, how to solve this problem, nothing else matters. So this declaration effectively is a call to action, and working together, we were able, again, to produce these steps, really driven by the fact that we've avoided nuclear catastrophe for the past 80 years by sheer luck and happenstance. And because we're with scientists, they're very clear about the law of probability, and it's working against us at this point. We very much wanted to also ground this statement in the human element and how this affects each of you. And for that reason, we invoked Nobel laureates, Bertrand Russell and Albert Einstein, and asked leaders, take these words to heart. We appeal as human beings to human beings. Remember your humanity and forget the rest.
Thank you. So just to kind of end this part, just actually because I'm genuinely curious, I'm just going to go through each of you and I just short answer, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope? Well, I think the successes of the past give me some hope that they're repeatable. We did stop nuclear testing. We did reduce the number of nuclear weapons in the world by a factor of 10. Those successes were based on strong public opinion, public engagement, political pressure from people who were scared that they would suffer from the fallout of testing or death from the use of nuclear weapons. What worries me today is the situation we've described, but also the fact that just about everybody I meet who was a child when the Cold War ended is rather ignorant about the nature of the threat, the nature of nuclear weapons, the hard facts. People are complacent or feel that nothing can be done. I feel that my hope is that if we somehow break through that barrier of ignorance and complacency, that information will produce the fear that might lead to real agency and drive the recommendations that we are suggesting and perhaps much more. But it is really necessary to educate and the public and to convince them of the danger. If I can call on all of you and the citizens of the world to join us in this effort, in begging and imploring, no, demanding from our leaders to take the difficult steps that are necessary to eliminate the catastrophe of nuclear weapons. You have nothing to lose and your life to gain.
Thank you, David.
There's a well-known song in Australia, which is called From Little Things, Big Things Grow. And what we've done today is a small little step, but from it, a much better, bigger, change can occur. And I have had the privilege to see the best of humanity as people work together for the collective good, and what humanity can do when it wants to is amazing, even over the top of the actions of single individuals. So that's what gives me hope.
I can't improve that because I totally agree with that.
That's why Alex passed.
If we weren't optimistic, we wouldn't be here. I have faith in humanity. The world is every time smaller. We're really we're more aware that we are in one world. We have problems, common problems, big common problems: AI, climate change, nuclear weapons. And this is, I think, the awareness on these global problems will bring us together. And so it's my faith in humanity that brings me here.
Thank you, Kat.
I would definitely agree that you can't work in nuclear arms control and not be an optimist. It's just the only way to get through. But when I'm having a tough time, and there have been tough times, I think about the late John Lewis, who said, "We will find a way to make a way out of no way." And that's what drives me forward. I have hope because we have to find a way. We have to find a way to save ourselves from ourselves. And nothing is beyond our reach if we simply employ relentless patience and persistence. Let's get after it.
Amen. That's it. Yeah, so I'm just going to say a few more, but you guys can return. Thank you. Thank you. And so I just wanted to say a few additional thank yous. I'd like to say thank you to the Huujan family, Kirsten Anderson and David Keith, John and Francesca Edwardson, Dave Coleman, Bill Miller, the Carnegie Corporation of New York, Hewlett Foundation, and the Outrider Foundation. They're the ones that have made the entire assembly possible, and they have made this performance possible and made it free for you. So please join me in thanking them. I also, for all the Logan staff here, thank you. We've been very tough to work with, so thank you. We're very appreciative. I would also really like to thank the organizing committee, whom I forgot to thank earlier, including the four that were up here, and Scott Sagan and Francesca Giovannini. We've been working very closely. It really is amazing. It's been a privilege to be working with all of you. You are phenomenal, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I will just point out that, so we've had all these Nobel laureates and experts working to come up with a consensus document. And that is not easy. These are all fairly opinionated, informed people. It is really wonderful, and it's a kind of a sign of how committed everyone is that we work together and manage to come up with what we think are a really strong set of sort of recommendations, that these are real steps that we could take. And so I just want to say, we're all convinced that we're at a time of unprecedented danger. And this declaration, the whole point is these are concrete steps that we can take to reduce the risk of nuclear war. And so, in this moment of polarization and discord, I think there's one thing we all agree on, and that's that we want to ensure that civilization continues for our children and for our grandchildren. And this declaration is meant to be a step towards achieving that. So with that, I'm now going to introduce the Kronos Quartet and Allison Russell, who will be performing several pieces interleaved with spoken word stories of nuclear near misses and moments that almost ended the world since that first explosion 80 years ago. The Grammy-winning Kronos Quartet have been at the helm of utilizing music to engage with the world. Motivated by the idea that music should be constantly evolving, Kronos has composed and performed powerful music that deals with the subject of war and catastrophe. We will also be hearing from Allison Russell, a Grammy-winning singer and songwriter whose music has profoundly demonstrated the human capacity for resilience. I truly cannot think of better artists to commemorate the work that we have done this week. Please give a warm hand for the Kronos Quartet.
great this is to be with you this evening and playing music. We're going to start with one of our very favorite composers, Terry Riley. He wrote this piece for Kronos some 30 years ago. It's called Good Medicine.
Thank you very much. We'd like to share with you a remix, a Kronos remix of a piece by a friend of ours, the Canadian Inuk throat singer, writer, actor, and activist, Tanya Tagaq. Yes, please give it up for Tanya. This is a song that we love to perform with Tanya, but we have her blessing to do it when she's not around. This is called Colonizer.
assembly line. Industry is making the greatest production effort in history. Firearm is entering increasing quantities of the weapons of war. The aim of the white man, the Indians, and the now have fine schools in which there is available to the youth of the race education comparable to those attended by white children, in which all grades, including high school, are taught. Vocational training as practical preparation for future living is emphasized.
Next, we'd like to play for you a song by Laurie Anderson called Flow. And here to join us on stage is our first guest. We are honored to introduce Tatsujiro Suzuki.
I will read the excerpt from unpublished manuscript, My Atomic Diary Since the Atomic Catastrophe Up to This Day by Kiyoshi, 谷本. Standing on a hill with a good bird's eye view, I saw the whole city was covered with dark clouds and conflagrations were breaking out. Had it been a full-scale, massive air raid? How could this have happened all at once? I was terribly afraid. It was then black drops of rain, as big as blackberries, began to fall. There was a heavy black shower. The houses standing on both sides of the hill were already on fire. People in an endless procession were heading for the hillsides. There was not a single uninjured person. People were leaning on sticks and trampling along, helped by their king. Their bodies were covered with blood, and strange to say, most of the people were naked. Some were completely stripped off their clothes. Eyebrows were gone, hair was burned off, skin from faces and hands, arms, breasts, with stripping off or hanging loose. All faces are pale, without expression. No one was crying or yelling. People were coming one after another in silence. They were so shocked at the sudden change that they could utter no words. Everything was beyond their comprehension. They had heard no sound of explosion. They had only seen the flash. It seemed like a procession of ghosts. For a minute, I could not breathe. Then I went to the riverbanks to see if I could help neighbors. The whole city seemed like it was on fire. In the river, burned fishes were swimming weakly near the surface. Dead people were floating along in the stream. I had no more human feelings until I saw Mrs. Kamai, a young mother, only 24 years old, stopped me. In her arms, she firmly held her baby, which was dead. She clung to the baby for days, saying, "I want to have my husband to see her one more time." The sight of this young mother, carrying her dead baby among the ruins for 3 days, even made the men cry.
Next, we'd like to play you a piece by the Indonesian composer Peni Rini. This piece is called Huujan, which translates to rain. And in this piece, Peni explores the Indonesian people's relationship with rain, from the childhood joy of playing in the rain to the fear of destruction from climate change.
One of the amazing things that we get to do as members of Kronos is play music that addresses things that are happening in the world. That's why we're here with you tonight. This next piece, Folk Fair Andlit, by our friend Hildur Gudnadottir, was written as a response to Iceland's mistreatment and deportation of Albanian refugee children in 2015. It's a beautiful work for choir originally, in which two phrases are sung repeatedly, mercy and forgive us for. Hildur was kind enough to let us do this string-only arrangement of this piece with no words, but we are very pleased to be able to welcome our second speaker for this evening, Togzhan Kassenova.
I will be reading a letter from Nikita Khrushchev to John Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Dear Mr. President, I have received your letter from October 25th. From your letter, I got the feeling that you have some understanding of the situation which has developed and some sense of responsibility. I value this. I see, Mr. President, that you too are not devoid of a sense of anxiety for the fate of the world understanding and of what war entails. What would a war give you? You are threatening us with war, but you well know that the very least which you would receive in reply would be that you would experience the same consequences as those which you sent us. And that must be clear to us, people invested with authority, trust, and responsibility. We must not succumb to intoxication and petty passions, regardless of whether elections are impending in this or that country or not impending. These are all transient things, but if indeed war should break out, then it would not be in our power to stop it, for such is the logic of war. I have participated in 2 wars and know that war ends when it has rolled through cities and villages, everywhere sowing death and destruction. If people do not show wisdom, then in the final analysis, they will come to a clash, like blind moles, and then reciprocal extermination will begin. Let us therefore show statesman-like wisdom. I propose, we for our part will declare that our ships bound for Cuba will not carry any kind of armaments. You would declare that the United States will not invade Cuba with its forces and will not support any sort of forces which might intend to carry out an invasion of Cuba. Then the necessity for the presence of our military specialists in Cuba would disappear. Mr. President, I appeal to you to weigh well what the aggressive, piratical actions which you have declared the USA intends to carry out in international waters would lead to. If you did this as the first step towards the unleashing of war, well then, it's evident that nothing else is left to us but to accept this challenge of yours. If, however, you have not lost your self-control and sensibly conceive what this might lead to, then, Mr. President, we and you ought not now to pull on the ends of the rope in which you have tied the knot of war, because the more the 2 of us pull, the tighter that knot will be tied. And the moment may come when that knot will be tied so tight that even he who tied it will not have the strength to untie it. And then it will be necessary to cut the knot. And what that would mean is not for me to explain to you, because you yourself understand perfectly of what what terrible forces our countries dispose. Consequently, if there is no intention to tighten that knot and thereby to doom the world to the catastrophe of thermonuclear war, then let us not only relax the forces pulling on the ends of the rope, let us take measures to untie that knot. We are ready for this. Respectfully yours, Nikita Khrushchev.
Our final piece before we take a short break is the conclusion of Terry Riley's masterpiece, Sun Rings, commissioned by NASA, and including some of the sounds recorded on the Voyager expedition. This is called One Earth, One People, One Love.
You have to literally just pinch yourself and ask yourself the question silently, do you really know where you are at this point in time and space and in reality and in existence? When you look out the window and you're looking back at the most beautiful star in the heavens, the most beautiful because it's the one we understand and we know it's we're home, it's humanity, it's people, family, love, life. And besides that, it is beautiful. You can see from pole to pole and across oceans and continents, and you can watch it turn and there's no strings holding it up. And it's moving in a blackness that is almost beyond conception.
One earth, one people, one love. One earth, one people, one love. one people, one love. One earth, one people, one love.
It has been a true honor for Kronos to get to meet and listen to some of the most thoughtful and thought-provoking people these last couple days. We are so honored to be in the same space as these individuals and listening to everyone's opinions and research and thoughts and seeing how much everyone cares about taking care of our community, taking care of humanity, taking care of the earth, gave us a lot of hope. And we'd like to open the second half with a piece that touches on the idea of hope and celebrating those who are fighting for good. Gabriela Smith wrote Keep Going, where she interviewed environmentalists, climate change fighters, conservationists, farmers, scientists, and took these interviews and threaded together a piece in order to celebrate these people who are really looking out for planet Earth. We'd like to play the second movement of this longer work. This is Isabel.
Hi. Come on. Come on. Isabel. Come on. Say hello. Come on. Isabel. Come on. Hilda. Come on. Regenerative agriculture. So using sheep and rotational grazing to encourage health and return to vitality of the soil. About 5 years ago, a friend said, hey, I've been asked to manage the vegetation on a solar farm. Will you go with me and bring some of your sheep? And I said, of course I will. This sounds terrific. So my sheep went to a solar farm for the first time. They spent the summer eating the grass on a solar farm. And in doing so, when they pooped, the poop helped to promote biodiversity, and that helps with holding soil, holding moisture, and holding carbon. And in the process, we kept the vegetation down so that the solar panels could do their work to the best of their ability. I'm not sure how you can use this information because sheep poop it just doesn't fit nicely into any scores I can imagine.
Regenerative ocean farming is sort of using Mother Nature's technologies, these things that she's had for millions of years that restore ocean ecosystems. So for us, that's seaweeds and shellfish, species that capture carbon, nitrogen, function as artificial reef systems, and have always been the plants and animals that have helped regulate the climate. So my job now is to work with the oceans to grow more of these things. Regeneration is really about when we all get to work reviving, restoring our planet rather than just lowering our our impact. Like you could set aside the entire ocean as a marine park and it's all going to die in the air of climate change. You need to be breathing life back into that ocean and putting people work doing the reforestation. Everybody thinks they believe in climate change, but the sort of granular ramifications and what we all need to do hasn't sunk in.
When you ask people, like, how do humans positively benefit the planet? Sometimes people struggle to find something, and composting, returning nutrients to the soil, the ecosystem in a cycle, something that without humans managing it, it would take a much longer time scale.
We need all range of solutions. We don't need a silver bullet. We need a buckshot.
4 acres of solar panels where we have herbs, vegetables, grasses growing underneath our solar panels. Policymakers be inspired by our work to create legislation.
We try to shape, influence, pass policy that makes it easier, safer, more accessible for people to bike.
We just started mobilizing virtually to get our government to sign the Escazú agreement.
Mi proyecto se basa en hacer ecoladrillos.
Using hemp in replacement for things like single-use plastics.
We're electrifying, getting a bunch of projects on the grid.
Urban participation.
An Indigenous Guardians program.
Affordable and sustainable housing that is also inclusive, more dignified. Sustainability has to be accessible to the bottom 40%.
The climate transition needs to also be a cultural transition. And people need to see themselves in it, find meaning in it. This is about like identity, dignity, and sense of meaning, and that's just going to be core to part of the solution. I began to realize environmentalism isn't about birds and bees. This is a kitchen table issue. There are no jobs on a dead planet. And so that was a moment for me in this sort of search for a new way to relate to the ocean. And so then I spent the next 30 years just trying to figure out how to engage with the sea, where I didn't pillage, I didn't deplete, but actually played a role in breathing life back into the ocean. We can all come together and make a living on a living planet by restoring the oceans. What a great legacy for all of us. The question for me is, how do we create a generation of climate jobs that people write songs about?
Viet Quang is a Vietnamese-American composer, and he based the title Next Week's Trees off of a Mary Oliver poem. And in this piece, Viet talks about the uncertainty of the future, but at the same time, the future is something that shines a bright light on the idea of hope and anticipation that a new day can bring to us.
Our next piece is a song written by J. Fred Coots, but made popular by Nina Simone. This is arranged by Jacob Garchik, a good friend of Kronos. In this work, our wonderful Ayane gets to be the soulful voice of Nina Simone. It's called For All We Know.
Next, we'd like to play for you a traditional song from Sweden. This is called Tusen Tankar, or 1,000 Thoughts. And please welcome to the stage our fourth speaker, Alex Wellerstein.
I will be reading an excerpt from a speech given in 1999 by General George Lee Butler, Commander-in-Chief of the Strategic Air Command in 1991. He's reflecting on what he learned upon taking command of a vast portion of the American nuclear arsenal. Come to believe is that much of what I took on faith was either wrong, enormously simplistic, extraordinarily fragile, or simply morally intolerable. What I've come to believe is that the amassing of nuclear capability to the level of such grotesque excess as we witnessed between the United States and the Soviet Union over the period of the Cold War was as much a product of fear and ignorance and greed and ego and power and turf and dollars as it was about the seemingly elegant theories of deterrence. I had the responsibility for the day-to-day operation, discipline, and training of tens of thousands of crew members, the systems that they operated, and the warheads those systems were designed to deliver, some 10,000 strategic nuclear warheads. I read deeply into the history of the incidents and the accidents of the nuclear age as they had been recorded in the United States. I am only beginning to understand that history in the former Soviet Union, and it is more chilling than anything you can imagine. Missiles that blew up in their silos and ejected their nuclear warheads. B-52 aircraft that collided with tankers and scattered nuclear weapons across the coast and into the offshore seas of Spain. A B-52 bomber with nuclear weapons aboard that crashed in North Carolina. And on investigation, it was discovered that on one of those weapons, 6 of the 7 safety devices that prevent a nuclear explosion had failed as a result of the crash. Nuclear missile-laden submarines that experienced catastrophic accidents now lie at the bottom of the ocean. In January 1991, I finally, for the first time, was allowed full access to the war plan. Even having some sense of what it encompassed, I was shocked to see that in fact it was defined by 12,500 targets in the former Warsaw Pact to be attacked by some 10,000 nuclear weapons virtually simultaneously. I made it my business to examine in some detail every single one of those targets. I doubt that had been done by anyone, ever. At the conclusion of that exercise, I finally came to understand the true meaning of mutually assured destruction. with the possible exception of the Soviet nuclear weapon plan. This was the single most absurd and irresponsible document I have ever reviewed in my life. I came to fully appreciate the truth that we escaped the Cold War without a nuclear holocaust by some combination of skill, luck, and divine intervention, and I suspect the latter in the greatest proportion. The leaders of the nuclear weapon states today risk very much being judged by future historians as having been unworthy of their age, of not having taken advantage of opportunities so perilously won at such great sacrifice and cost, of reigniting nuclear arms races around the world, of condemning mankind to live under a cloud of perpetual anxiety.
We opened the show with a piece by Terry Riley, Good Medicine, and we'd like to play for you one of his most recent works for us. This is based off of Sun Ra's song, Nuclear War, of which Terry has been a fan of for many years and has always wanted to create music, more music out of. And this is his remix of Nuclear War, the title taken from one of Sun Ra's own lyrics, Kiss Your Ass Goodbye.
atomic bomb. Kiss your ass. Kiss your ass. Goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
If they push that button,
it's gonna blast you so high.
It's gonna blast you so high.
Up in the sky.
Right in the sky.
You can kiss your ass.
You can kiss your ass.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Farewell.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Some of you already know that today we released a new recording, and it has come out on the Red Hot label. And it was Owen Gaffney that called and wanted to know if Kronos would be interested in finding a new version of Bob Dylan's A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall. And it took me about 1/10 of a second to say, yes, we will figure this out. With a lot of help and the expert work of Elia Einhorn and many, many others. This album, it was completely edited and mastered a week ago, and it came out today. And we have a lead singer that joined us, and we're so happy that Allison Russell is here to join us this evening. And actually, this is the American premiere of our version of this song tonight. And so please welcome to the stage for our final piece this evening, A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall with Allison Russell.
It's such an honor to be here with these extraordinary artists, with these extraordinary speakers, with all of you. All children are our children, no exceptions.
Oh, yeah, you been my darling young one. I stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I crawled on 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. in dead oceans. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard race I'm gonna find. What did you see, my green-eyed son? Oh, did you see my darling young one? I saw a newborn baby with wild wolves all around it. I saw a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. I saw a room full of men with their hammers bleeding. I saw a white ladder all covered with water. I saw 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. And I saw guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. It's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard race they're gonna fight. And where have you heard my brown-eyed son? What have you heard, my darling young one? I heard the sound of a thunder that roared out a warning. I heard the roar of a wave that could drown the whole world. I heard 100 drummers whose hands were ablazing. I heard 10,000 whispering, nobody listening. I heard one person starving. I heard many people laughing. I heard the song of a poet who died in the gutter. I heard the sound of a clown who cried in the alley. It's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard. Gonna find. Who did you meet, my blue-eyed son? Who did you meet, my darling young one? I met a young child beside a dead pony. I met a white man who walked a black dog. I met a young woman whose body was burning. I met a young girl, she gave me a rainbow. I met one man, he was wounded in love. I met another man who was wounded in hatred. It's a high, it's a high, it's a high. It's a hard, it's a hard race they're gonna fight. dark forest, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooding their waters, where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prison. The executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where the souls are forgotten, where black is the color and none is the number. And I'll tell it and speak it and think it and breathe it and reflect from the mountain so our souls can see it. And I stand on the ocean until I start sinking. And I know my song well before I start singing. And it's a high, it's a hug, it's a hug, it's a hug, it's a hug. I got a bug. It's a hot, it's a hot, it's a hug, it's a hug, it's a hug, it's a hug, it's a hot rain. Are gonna find.
The Kronos Quartet.